Out of every character in pretty much history, Mickey Mouse is probably the most iconic. He's had so many different versions of his character over the years, but all of them had one fatal flaw. He always fails to feel like an actual character and ends up more like just a corporate mascot, which is leading a lot of people to see him as just that. There's a good reason for this. It's because Mickey's character has become so iconic, and people know him as just this happy, polite guy who doesn't really get angry that often. And it's because of this that the company is scared to make him act irrationally or act angrily because they fear it'll ruin that perfect Mickey Mouse personality. And because of this, many people have started to see him as more of a soulless corporate mascot. However, there's one version of Mickey Mouse that is an exception to this. I'm of course talking about the Paul Rudish cartoon, literally just called Mickey Mouse. While being more modern styled, the cartoons feel a lot like the 1930s Walt Disney original Mickey Mouse cartoons because of their unpredictable humor. And specifically this version of Mickey Mouse probably feels the most relatable. In these shorts, he's thrown into a ton of situations where he sometimes has to act irrationally or sometimes do things that typical Mickey Mouse wouldn't do. And here, they're a lot less afraid to make Mickey do things that Mickey wouldn't do. And through all of that, they managed to make him a much more relatable and funny character in this show. If you've seen some videos on my channel before, you know I love these things. And so today, I'm going to rank my top 15, don't ask why I specifically chose 15, entries from the Mickey Mouse series, the original one, along with the two Christmas and Halloween specials. I won't be counting The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse or the seasonal specials, but I've been talking for way too long, so let's finally get into this. Welcome back aboard the Polite Ship, everyone, and I think it's time to get into this ranking. At number 15, we have A Flower for Minnie. This has always been one of my favorites. Not only does it have a really, really catchy song at the start, but it's probably the best demonstration throughout this entire list and all of the shorts in general of just how visually appealing the art style of these shorts is. The shorts have a very distinct style where the background is very, almost watercolored in a way, and some of the colors go out of the lines. And then the characters in the foreground are very, you would normally see in a cartoon. They got, the full color. The plot of this short is that Mickey is going to see Minnie, and he's going to give her a flower. However, the flower that he has gets cut by this random guy when he gets turned into a topiary for some reason. These shorts are wild. And then he goes around trying to find a new one, but every time he does, something goes wrong. Eventually, he catches a parade, finds a flower, but plot twist, now the parade is following him, and he leads it right to Minnie's house on accident. Not only is this the best demonstration of the art style, but it's also just such a cute one. The idea of it is really wholesome, that Mickey is willing to go through so much to get Minnie her flower. But overall, really, really good one. Next up, we got Doggone Biscuits. I think this one is probably the funniest short. The plot of this one is that Mickey is going away and he asks Minnie to watch Pluto. He gives Minnie Pluto's favorite treats but tells her not to give him too many, otherwise he's going to get really fat. And guess what happens? She gives him too many and he gets really fat. Then Mickey calls and says he's coming home later today, so Minnie spends the rest of the day trying to get Pluto back in shape. But then eventually she does succeed, but then gets chased by a bunch of angry dogs. Now Pluto is carrying the weight of the entire world for some reason, just as Mickey gets back and also gets attacked by these dogs. So now he has to carry the world, for some reason, all the way over to Mickey and Minnie to save them. And once he does, he's now just jacked. And that's how the short ends. This one is just so random, it's funny. I love Pluto, so that's the main reason why this is one of my favorites. But it's just so silly and unpredictable. 1 second he's fat, next second he's big and fat, the next second he's dehydrated, the next second he's big and fat again, and now he's buff. But because of how funny this one is, that's why it takes this spot on the list. Moving on to the scariest story ever, or Halloween Spooktacular, or whatever you want to call it. And this one is the Mickey Mouse Shorts Halloween special. And of the two holiday specials, I definitely think this is the weaker one because it is very grounded. I mean, there's not much you can take and do with Mickey Mouse when it comes to Halloween, which is the main reason why this one doesn't go too far. However, it does go pretty well on the scare factor towards the end there, especially. It's just Mickey trying to tell the kids a scary story, but they keep telling him he's not good enough at it until he finally comes up with a story about an evil witch who bakes kids into pies, and then they freak out and everyone gets scared. And then Mickey goes to the door and sees the same witch from the story. He freaks out himself and then realizes, well, he doesn't realize, but afterwards it's revealed that it was just Minnie and Daisy in a costume. So fittingly, this one gets the 13th spot on the list. At number 12, we have Out of Time, which is probably one of the best ones. Personally, it's not my favorite, and I think that's because it's extremely overplayed when you watch them at the hotel, but for good reason. All of the 7-minute shorts are really, really good, and you're going to see that throughout this list. The plot of this one is that Mickey, Goofy, and Donald are at the Hall of Science, and Von Drake is showing them his newest section in the Hall of Science, which is all of his newest revolutionary inventions. Goofy is drinking a soda that makes him need to go to the bathroom, but he accidentally goes into a time machine that causes him to contaminate the timeline, and everybody just becomes him in the present day. So now it's up to Mickey and Donald to go back and get him before he contaminates all of the timeline. Donald doesn't want to go and ends up backing into the sandwich machine, causing his butt to get sliced clean off. This becomes a gag for the rest of the episode, that his butt just keeps falling off. So they go back to the prehistoric age, they find Goofy, and after getting chased by a bunch of cavemen that look like Goofy, they manage to make it back, but that still doesn't fix the contaminated timeline. So they go back to 1 minute before Goofy drinks the soda and slap it out of his hand to stop all of this from happening. But Donald accidentally dropped his butt in the prehistoric age, and now everyone's head becomes Donald's butt. And that's where the short ends. The plot of this one is really interesting because there's an actual problem they have to solve, and it's a pretty interesting story, I'm going to be honest. The gag with Donald's butt is hilarious, and it even gets mentioned in a couple other shorts too. But I just love how funny and, well written this one is, which is why it gets the 12th spot on the list. Next up, we have Pandemonium, which is, I'm pretty sure, the only international one on this list. So the thing with these shorts is that because they lack continuity throughout the episodes, they're able to do ones in other countries where Mickey and the gang speak the languages of those countries. And I think that's really, really cool because it provides a way from the people from those countries to be able to watch these and feel included. I know I've been saying this with almost every single short on this list because they are just hilarious, but this one is so good. The one negative about the international ones is that a lot of the jokes feel forced, but this one doesn't really have that issue. The jokes are funny, and they really, really hit well. The plot of this one is that Mickey is at the zoo, and he wants to take a photo of this panda. However, the panda keeps getting ahead of him and basically won't let him take the picture. He keeps losing his camera, and while fighting with the zoo animals to get it back, he ends up in the enclosure himself with 2 black eyes, and everyone around him thinks he's the panda. Then it's revealed that the panda has his camera and takes a picture of him from the audience. It's a really silly and goofy idea that I think they do really, really well, just like with the rest of these shorts. Kicking off the top 10, we have Bad Ear Day. The main issue I have with this one is the plot being kind of repeated. So basically, the plot for this one is Mickey is about to be late to his date with Minnie. He gets ready, he thinks he's going to be on time. But then, his ears get blown out the window, so he has to go find and get them back. This is probably the quietest short because of that. And then when he finally finds them, they're in a hockey game, so he plays the hockey game and wins, and then he gets his ears back. He makes it on time, but when he finds out it's opera, he can't stand the music, so he takes his ears off again. Like I said at the beginning, this one succeeds in almost every category. It's funny. There's some good character moments in it, with Goofy especially.
Hey, look, Goofy! I found my ears! What?
And the plot is really interesting. However, the issue with the plot is that it's very, very repetitive. A lot of these shorts have the same date night with Minnie, there's an issue, we gotta fix it type plot. But this one does manage to do that plot really, really well in a unique way too, so I like that. And that's why Bad Ear Day gets the 10th spot on the list. At number 9, we have couple sweaters. My mom specifically loves this one. This is another one with so many funny moments. Honestly, you could say that for all these shorts. But just, it's done so well. This is another one that does the date with Minnie plot, but this one does it a little bit differently because the issue happens on the date. The plot of this one is that Mickey can't think of something to wear for his date night with Minnie until he looks out the window and sees she's wearing the couple sweater, which is basically these matching green sweaters that couples wear. The issue is he doesn't like it because it's really, really itchy. But he still wears it because he thinks Minnie likes it. On the date, he keeps trying to get her to leave, but she keeps seeing other things that keeps her there. So he still can't take off the sweater. Eventually, he has enough. The sweater gets caught up in the Ferris wheel and unravels itself, and then he finally reveals to Minnie that he doesn't like the sweater. Turns out all along she hated it too, and they both agree to never wear the sweaters again. This is probably the most relatable short next to watching Staying Cool when you're in Disney. Anyway, so this one is a common issue that a lot of people have probably dealt with before, wearing something extremely itchy and uncomfortable. So it makes it even funnier seeing it in the short form, where everything is slightly more extreme. They even make the sweater look unappealing too. But overall, it's just such a nice short. It's such a relatable and funny short, which is why it gets the 9th spot on the list. Next up, at number 8, we have Sock Burglar. This one is another one that I feel like is a standout. At one point, Minnie becomes a ninja. The plot of this one is that everyone in the town's socks have mysteriously disappeared. Minnie is determined to make new socks for everybody, but after she sews a bunch of new socks, the sock burglar comes and steals all of them. So now she tries to catch him. That's when she interrogates everybody, and Goofy says this legendary line.
I confess, I drank all the milk from Mickey's carton, and I backwarshed.
And then after she finally figures out that it's Pete after becoming a ninja, she then realizes that Pete wants a sock, and that's why he's stealing everybody else's socks, because he feels like it's unfair that he can't find a sock for his peg leg. So she sews him one, and then after he does have that new sock, he decides to rob a bank. This is another one where the unpredictability makes it absolutely amazing. Like, 1 second she's sewing socks, the next section she becomes a ninja. I also love some of the color in this one because of all the different colored socks. So yeah, this is another one that's really, really good. At number 7, we have Cable Car Chaos.
Next up, Chinatown, everybody. Chinatown, or as they like to call it around these parts, Chinatown.
Along with Captain Obvious. This one is another date with Minnie, something goes wrong, and this time it's Minnie's fault. Because when getting out of the cable car, she proceeds to take 12 light years, which gives a random guy enough time to throw a firecracker onto the cable car, freak the driver out for the 5 seconds that he's actually sentient, and then send the cable car running wild. So now it's Mickey's job to get it back, while Minnie tries to stop the car from the inside. So Mickey decides to, for some reason, ride a bike to catch up with them, and the cable car is going way too fast, and when he finally does catch up with them, it goes up a completely vertical hill. Eventually, Minnie is able to temporarily reverse the train, and then Mickey runs back into it. Then they go completely off of the tracks and end up in the sky on top of the Golden Gate Bridge. The thing that cracks me up about this one is the fact that Mickey and Minnie are the only two sentient beings on that cable car. All the other passengers just sit there while the car goes completely haywire, which I, for some reason, find hilarious. I love this one just for how random and stupid it is, which is why it gets the 7th spot on the list. At number 6, we have Gone to Pieces. The plot of this one is that Mickey, Goofy, and Donald are hanging out at their house. I think Mickey's house. And when Goofy arrives, he's wearing roller skates. He goes all around the house, causing a complete mess because he loses control and breaking himself into a ton of pieces. Yeah, you see how crazy these things are. After he basically just breaks himself into a bunch of pieces, Mickey and Donald keep trying to put him back together and failing miserably. Eventually, Mickey bounces Goofy's parts on the trampoline, and they basically reverse what happened at the very beginning to put him back together. Then Goofy hugs them really tight, and then they all break. This one is just so wacky. Like, it literally, out of every single one of these shorts, I feel like this is the most random idea ever, and it works so well. Of all the people, it feels fitting that it's Goofy, because he is the type of character to get himself in this situation in the first place. The one thing I do have to say about all of this is that I wasn't the biggest fan of Mickey's design in the later seasons. So it's kind of like they didn't change his design too much, but there are some shorts where it's really, really noticeable. But other than that, I do really like this one. Kicking off the top 5, we have New Shoes. This one is another 7-minute short, and again, another really good one. The plot of this one is that it starts with Mickey, Goofy, and Donald again, and they're just kind of walking through the street. And then they get punched by Pete, and it launches them through the wall where their souls go into different bodies. Mickey ends up in Goofy's body, Donald ends up in Mickey's body, and Goofy ends up in Donald's body. And they think it's really cool at first, but eventually they realize they're kind of tired of it, which is usually how stories like this go. And they manage to get back into their own bodies again because literally the same exact thing happens. My only thing with this one is they really, really make Goofy look way taller than he is just to get across the point that he's the tallest of the three. Like, the whole idea is that Mickey is stuck in Goofy's body, and he's experiencing what it's like to be as tall as Goofy is. But they over-exaggerate his height in this short to the point where it's, like, blatantly obvious. Also, apparently Goofy is 6'7".
I'm huge like a giant guy, 6'7", like a...
Oh yeah, that's another thing. The song is really catchy. There's a lot of these shorts that have really, really catchy songs. One coming up, we're going to talk about that. But, other than that, I just really like the plot of this one. I've always thought this kind of, like, plot is interesting. So yeah, that's why I like this one. At number 4, I have For Whom the Booth Tolls. This one is so stupid of an idea. It's like, if you took a horror movie and made the main villain a sentient toll booth. So the plot of this one is there's another one that starts out with Mickey and Minnie on a date. But the plot of this one is they're going to this beautiful garden on a date. And when they get up to the entrance, Mickey has to put 25 cents into the toll booth. But then he realizes he doesn't have 25 cents. He looks all over his car, he can't find it. So Minnie plucks the button off of his shorts and tries to convince the machine that that's the 25 cents. Eventually they drive off and Mickey starts hallucinating, seeing the toll booth everywhere they are. Until eventually they get on a cable car and realize the toll booth is actually in the cable car. The toll booth then takes control of the cable car and starts chasing them around the park until they find Goofy selling balloons. Then Mickey steals some of the change from Goofy and shoots it into the toll booth's mouth, I guess. And then it just goes back to normal. At the end, Mickey makes this terrible joke.
Well, that certainly was a change for the better.
I thought the idea of this one was hilarious, how he just keeps hallucinating seeing this sentient toll booth. Like, it's just such a silly idea, but also such a good one, too, at the same time. Because it's unique. It's something that's really never been done before, which really makes this one stand out. But that's why this one gets the 4th spot. We are now in the top 3, kicking it off with Carried Away, which is the last episode of the original series. This, without a doubt, has to be the best example of out-of-context moments from this show. Because you can find clips where there's absolute chaos going on in the background, as Minnie's just casually, quietly singing like nothing's happening. The plot of this one is that Mickey and Minnie are on a boat, and Minnie tells Mickey she has a gift for him. The gift is a song that she wrote him, so she starts singing the song, and then Mickey accidentally moves the boat. So he tries to stop it, but then they get flung to the rainforest where he gets attacked by piranhas. Then they get launched into a log mill where they almost get cut by the saw. And then they go flying into the sky. They go through about 50 different countries before finally coming to a giant waterfall where he uses one of the piranhas to bite Goofy's face, swing them back to safety, all while Minnie is completely oblivious. In the end, it's revealed that she knew what was happening the entire time, and she, for some reason, brought in anger. What's funny about this one is just the constant chaos happening while Minnie's just singing in the background. It's the perfect example of how chaotic this show can get, whilst also simultaneously being so funny. Not to mention, the song is the experience this entire short. I also feel like since at the end it's revealed that Minnie has been watching the entire time and she's known what was going on, I also think that there's a possibility she was making up the lyrics as she went, because this is how many of the lyrics match up with something that's actually happening.
I'm bitten by love, I'm screaming out with delight, and all together smashing, I'm really tangled up in you. My head has started spinning, blocking the miles, milling about, until I shout, fly away with me, nothing could ever come between us. If I'm at sea, far from my home, I'm falling for you.
But anyway, that's why Carried Away gets the top third spot on the list. Before we get into the top two, I wanted to leave an honorable mention, because it's technically not a real short. I'm, of course, talking about Perfect Picnic, and if you've ridden Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, then you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to explain this one too deeply because I really need to shorten the runtime. Disney, please don't claim this video. But Perfect Picnic is basically the short that you are inside of when you ride Mickey and Minnie's. I could have found a better way to say that, but I didn't. Anyway, yeah, honorable mention, Perfect Picnic. But in the number 2 spot as the second best short, we have Potato Land. Now, for a while, this would have been my favorite short. And it technically still is, and you'll see what I mean when we get to number 1. But Potato Land is another one of the 7-minute shorts, and like I keep saying, these 7-minute shorts are really, really good. I'm pretty sure this is the most popular one. So the plot of Potato Land is that Goofy is taking Mickey and Donald out and having them drive him all the way to Idaho so that he can visit Potato Land, which he used to drive past the sign for Potato Land all the time when he was a kid, but he never actually went there. When they finally get there, they realize that it was just a sign calling Idaho America's Potato Land, but Goofy doesn't know that. He thinks there's actually an amusement park. So after he knocks himself out by running into the sign, Mickey and Donald build an entire amusement park in one night. After they're finished, they show Goofy, and he believes it's really Potato Land. They take him on a couple of the rides, but eventually, Donald explodes while dressed up as the potato version of Abraham Lincoln, in what's basically a play on Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. All of Potato Land is basically a play on Disneyland. But after that, they finally admit to Goofy that they lied to him. He doesn't care, and he just eventually asks them to go get potato sundaes, but then all the gravy starts melting that they used to weld the buildings together, and they have to escape. First of all, respect to Mickey and Donald for building an entire amusement park in one night. I mean, I'm sure Disney themselves can't say the same with how long it took to do that small revamp to Epcot. But God, I love this one. This one just has such an interesting charm that the rest of them don't have. I mean, they all have a charm, but specifically this one is just, it's probably the short of this series. Which is why the only one that slightly edges out this one is the one that's representing my favorite holiday. And I'm of course talking about Duck the Halls, the Mickey Mouse Shorts Christmas Special. The plot of this 22-minute special is it's Christmas. Wow, shocking, right? And Donald really wants to spend the holidays with Mickey, Goofy, Pluto, Minnie, and the others. But him and Daisy have to migrate south because they're ducks. Doing duck things because they're ducks and they do. Instead, Donald decides to stay behind and hang out with the gang. However, he starts slowly getting more and more sick. So eventually the group down south decides to go get Donald. Meanwhile, Mickey and the gang are trying to get Donald back home, but he refuses to listen to them because he wants Christmas. Eventually he goes berserk and crashes through the barn into the stable, basically becoming, I guess, Jesus. That's when they go back home and steal Santa's sleigh to bring Donald down south. When they get there, they absolutely decimate everything, and Santa's pissed. Mickey tells him they just wanted to give Donald a good Christmas, but Santa laughs and tells them they don't need snow to have Christmas as long as they have love inside their heart. Basically the moral of every single Christmas story ever. It ends with Mickey and the gang having Christmas down south. This is the only time Donald makes logical sense in these shorts, and I wish they didn't ruin it with the wonderful winter of Mickey Mouse later. But technically continuity doesn't matter in these, as we've proved already, so... Overall, I just love this so much. I mean, Christmas is my favorite holiday, and on top of that, it's the Paul Rudish shorts, it's Christmas, Donald actually makes logical sense, so it's just a cool one in general. But that is my ranking of my top 15 Paul Rudish Mickey Mouse shorts. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't watched this show, definitely check it out. It's on Disney+, and you can also watch some of the shorts on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Don't get seasick. Bye.